welcome back to Typecast Heroes, where we believe typology can save the world. I'm Amanda Fogelson.
And I'm Jessie Miller, and today we are going to be continuing our series about how all of the cognitive functions present in each of the cognitive positions of your cognitive stack. How many times can I say cognitive? So today's particular discussion is extroverted intuition in the parent position. So that is for the INTPs and the INFPs. We've got a lot of examples to draw on today.
Just remember, as we say in the beginning of every video, anyone can be anything. And while we do wholeheartedly believe that, we also believe that the motivation behind the behavior is where you can really see any function shine. So here, what we're doing is we're going to give you a list of examples, different situations that we've seen the INFPs and INTPs in our life go through. So you may be able to relate to those situations because you are human. However, it's the motivation behind the behavior that we want to focus on. So why did they do what they did?
So she just gave you that. The additional thing is, just because you don't relate to any of this does not mean that you don't have an extroverted intuitive parent, because there is something called ideal type average when you look at type development. So if you're older or if you're younger, you may not have yet experienced these things in your life, or you experienced them so long ago and already gotten over it that you no longer find it relevant. But this is for the average person going through average type development who is not doing any of the weird things that can occur because of external factors. So the parent function, that is your second one in your stack. So if you are looking at a list, it's usually the second one listed. It's also called auxiliary function or mother-father function, or it's called a lot of different things in the typology community. But according to John Beebe's work and Daryl Sharp's work and all of the Marie-Louise von Franz, like all of the work that I study, this is one that is meant to balance you. So you have a lead function, and then the parent function is opposite attitude, and it is opposite tendencies. So if you have a perceiving function as first, your parent function is going to be a judging one. And so and then vice versa. If you have a judging function first, your parent function is going to be perceiving, to keep you balanced. If you're introverted first, you're extroverted second. So for a person with extroverted intuition as their parent function, that means that their first function is a judging one, and it's introverted. So that is an internal system of values if you're an INFP, or logical framework if you are an INTP. And those are introverted, and they are very laser focused functions. So they are lasering through to get to the logic of an argument, or they're lasering through to get down to the belief system. And if you are at the other end of that laser, Godspeed, Superman. Extroverted intuition as a parent function for them serves to balance this. It is a compulsion. It's something that they're going to constantly feel themselves pulled to do, led to do. And when they indulge in it, they're going to feel like a more complete person. Extroverted intuition is when you are entertaining, enabling, envisioning ideas. You like the idea of the thing. It's not always the thing itself. It's like the idea of the thing. So extroverted intuition serves to balance these individuals, because when they get super stuck in their introverted judging functions, it can be kind of tunnel visioned a little bit, because it's their system, and it's, like I said, it's like a laser, right? When you aim it at somebody else, it's almost like you're trying to find the root of something and there may be nothing there. Extroverted intuition kind of keeps you exploring possibilities. Like, no, it's not just about what I value. It's not just about what I think and what I believe is logically accurate. There are tons of ideas out there, because extroverted intuition is focused outward. So it's expansive. It's looking at this quote from this movie and connecting it to this political party, even if they don't connect at all, and they're making this big connection in the external world. So when you are looking at the world through your value system, it's like kind of like a pull up. No, let's look at all of these possibilities, all of these connecting ideas. So one of the things that's important to do is to think about how, when you encounter a person, your parent function, because it serves to balance you, it tends to take on the archetypal figure of the responsible parent. So it wants to be used to nurture others, because that's what it does in yourself. It wants to encourage others. It wants to almost discipline others, because again, that's what it does to you. That's what it does if you are an INFP or an INTP. And when you interact with somebody else, one of the things that I see a lot of INFPs and INTPs do is they show all the possibilities to things because that's their parent function. So it wants to encourage others to look at the possibilities and to look at situations from every possible avenue because that's what it does to them. So when they are encouraging others, they do what their mind naturally does. So they want to show people these possibilities. So I'm very lucky in that I have a lot of INTPs in my life, and I have INFPs in my life as well. I was hesitant there because INTPs are the group that turned out in full force for me in February when I started this project. So I've had the immense pleasure of interacting with lots of them. But whenever I bring them a problem, and I'm thinking about one of my INTP buddies. He's a little guy. He's younger. But whenever I have a problem of anything, if I mention it to them, the first thing they do is they immediately start thinking about 1,000 solutions, and some of their solutions are off the wall crazy. Like there's something that I would never in 2,000 years think to do. So like for instance, when we were first starting Typecast, because the INTPs were the first group that I really told about the project, I had so many INTPs come up with thousands of ideas. So for one of my INTP buddies, I told him like about this project, about what I wanted to do, and he immediately came up with like 7 different ways that I could spin the podcast based on YouTubers who had already done it, and he had it in a spreadsheet for me within, I want to say like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I didn't ask him to do this. He just did this. And it was like things that I'd never thought about. And so he looked at all of the YouTubers who were already doing this, and he was like looking at different angles of different things that could be done differently. So it's the way that so he was encouraging me, he was nurturing me, he was trying to take care of me because he's my friend and he likes me, I guess. I like him a lot. And he was trying to help me find new solutions to problems. And I see that consistently. INTPs and INFPs, if they care about you, they want you to hear their ideas. They want you to see all of the connecting pieces. And it's the way that they show that they love you. Unfortunately, this can also be hypercritical at times because it can be hypercritical of people who don't see the possibilities. If your parent function is really developing itself, then that means that you may be critical of people who are not seeing those possibilities. You could be, an SI dominant. So if you are an INFP or an INTP who's using your judging function first and you're really into your extroverted intuition function second, sometimes that can actually be a bad thing. You're like, oh yeah, cool, I'm perfectly balanced. You can also come across as super hypercritical because you are like, well, why can't you see all these possibilities? Like, I need you to see them, kind of like a bossy parent who's like yelling at somebody externally. You can also project this onto people we admire. So this is one of the things about the parent function that really fascinates me, I guess. It's like when you are looking at somebody in the world and you admire them, and you could admire them for anything, you might be looking at them and thinking, even if you don't know anything about typology, you might think, man, that person sees connections that I don't. That person sees all these possibilities that I'm not seeing. This person is making all these connections that I can't do or that I'm not doing as well. And you project that function or that perception, that perceiving function onto the person, and you believe that they have this almost like a superpower, and it's going to usually manifest in that way.
Even if that's not actually what they're doing.
That's not, and that could be a complete distortion of reality. So you may trust this person to almost like to have a stronger extroverted intuition than you. And again, you don't even have to know typology to know this. You might think that they are seeing things that you can't. And so you would trust their judgment over your own because you are projecting this onto them. So if you are looking for possibilities, you may trust their advice even over your own because you think that they are looking through all of the possibilities just like you would. In reality, they may not be. And so that's distorting your reality, and that's a problem according to Carl Jung. Whenever you project onward, it's a negative thing, even if you're doing it in a positive way, because you're not seeing a person as they are. Sometimes too, that extroverted intuition parent, again, if you're super building it up, it can be a little over permissive of crazy ideas. It can be like, yes, let's do all of the ideas, and it's kind of like unbridled. Like there is absolute, because the parent function is trying to build itself up. So hypercritical of those who can't see all the options, and then overly like encouraging of those who can. And that can be detrimental at times as well. Amanda?
So my husband, Mitch, is an INFP. I am an ENFP. So I lead with extroverted intuition. His second is extroverted intuition. So I come up with really crazy ideas, about like 300 crazy ideas a day. And he supports me and would push me to do all 300 of those crazy ideas. It's wonderful, and he's incredibly supportive, but he's not the type of person who can balance me out and get me to rationalize what I'm thinking. He just pushes me to do more crazy stuff. So even though he's not necessarily the one dreaming up the crazy stuff all the time, because I'm kind of overbearing in that area in our relationship, he is the one that is sitting there that's like, no matter how bad the idea is, he will just like support it and just be like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's go, let's go. And he'll be right in there with me.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it may not always be the wisest thing.
No, sometimes I should have someone who says like, no. That's why I met her.
Mm-hmm. That is accurate. So those are the things that can come with the parent function. Now, sometimes because, and I see this, introverts have it. Each type has, I do not like absolute statements. I hate them. That was an absolute statement. But introverts have a unique challenge when it comes to cognitive loops, because introversion, every extrovert has to at some point be alone. Introverts can get away with staying by themselves for a long period of time. At least they can try really hard to. And so what happens with an INTP or an INFP is they sometimes, often, skip extroverted intuition and they jump down into their introverted sensing process.
What she's saying is that like if you're an extrovert, you're forced sometimes to be alone instead of being around others and being out in the open. But as an introvert, you're not oftentimes forced to extrovert.
Like you can be forced to be around people.
Yeah.
But you can like
still be in your head the whole time.
Yeah.
And so it's not as much of a forced balance as it is something you have to be like disciplined and intentional about.
Right. And so extroverts, the argument there for me is that like extroverts, even if they're doing all the action, which can prevent introspection, at the end of the day, like when they go to bed, that's when their head starts going, and it's introverts don't really have that same thing. So introverts have a struggle with this. So especially for INFPs and INTPs, because INTPs and INFPs are some of the most intelligent individuals I've ever met. But what I've seen over and over again, and I've talked to both of these groups, INTPs and INFPs are the most numerous groups of individuals I've interviewed and worked with, is that they loop down into their introverted sensing process, and it creates like this, it creates a tunnel. It creates a wind chamber of their own ideas. So it's like they are bouncing off what they think or what they value or what they consider logically valid, and it's bouncing off from their own experiences, and that's a whole lot of them.
It's literally all.
It's a lot. And when they do this, they are not they're not taking in information through that extroverted intuition process anymore. Extroverted intuition is when, or they're not paying attention to it as much. Extroverted intuition is when you're energy outward, you're looking at things and you're connecting the pieces. Introverted sensing is when you're pulling from the past. So when they look at something, rather than seeing the possibilities, they might be getting stuck in this, what was, in their past experiences.
Or this has never happened, so it can't happen. It's not a possibility because it doesn't fit into what I already know or already value or already logically think.
Right. And that's really sad. And we had just filmed a sad video, and now we're going to do another one. But INTPs and INFPs are insanely creative. Like the ones that I have met have a gift to bring the world. They see things that they can't be seen anywhere else. They just can't. Like I will talk to an INTP and we'll just be talking about a comic book. Like, and he will be looking at it and discussing like all of these like deep, meaningful interpretations he has of his comic that I thought was just a comic. And I'm an NI. Like, and it's valuable to have people who can draw those connections. And it's valuable to see people who you say something, you say a word, and they like spin it off from like a movie quote, and all of a sudden they're running with this idea, this deep philosophical conversations, and they're name dropping philosophers like nobody's business. And you're like, how did you get there? The way that their mind functions is amazing. And it's unique to and ENFPs and ENTPs have this as well, but it's a little different in the introverts in that it's something that the world doesn't see unless they care about you, because that's their parent function, right?
Unless they are using it appropriately and care about you and want to show you. It's not something that's just like organically out there because they're still introverted at the end of the day.
And they have so much to give when their parent function is healthy, when they are not looping. And looping is such a struggle.
It is with everyone, but these two particular types, the way that we're talking about them,
they get caught.
Yes. I mean, it's just like the TISI or FISI, like that it's just a lot. And it's sometimes for the people around you too, to like see your potential that you're not able to see. It is so hard.
And then like, I say this a lot with extroverted intuition, but it's not always the thing. It's the idea of the thing. And then that's what it becomes. It's just an idea. And you never share it, and you never bring it out, and you never...
It's literally just in your head from start to finish.
And that's a shame.
Yeah.
Because you have so much to give, and I talk to you guys all day, and I love my INTPs. And my INFPs are cool too. But they have so much to give and so much creativity, and lean into that parent function, man.
Yes, that's the number one advice on pretty much every video, if we're talking about the stack at all, is that every type can skip over that parent function, can and do skip over that parent function, because it's comfortable and it just makes sense a lot. Like it's an easy one to skip over for most people, because again, it is the opposite tendency and attitude, and just don't do it. If you feel like there's something in you that's wanting to like branch out, that's wanting to kind of shake things up a bit, that's what any will do. Yes.
Take a trip.
Yes. Take a trip. New friend. Go do something a little spontaneous. Go read a book about something you've never read before. Start even smaller. I was about to say start even smaller and just go Google something that you've never Googled before. Google something that will that will like continue and continue and continue, and you just keep going down this little rabbit hole until you're like, oh my gosh, all I want to do is suck up information. But skipping over that NE is just so incredibly, it can just lead to a lot of confusion and a lot of sadness, a lot of loneliness.
Don't give up on possibilities in your own life.
Yes.
Because that's something else I see is that INFPs and INTPs tell me like
it's not worth it to them to like put things out.
They have such a grasp of what reality is. And we'll discover this more in the shadow, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't. And you're limiting yourself by thinking that you do. Because being human is freaking hard, man.
Hopefully this makes it just a little bit easier.
We got real preachy.
We did. Thank you all for listening. Go comment, like, subscribe, share. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and Discord, and we are doing this whole project. So if you have not already interviewed, please go back and watch Welcome to Typecast Heroes, our very first video. And then leave a comment below or message us on any of those platforms and get you settled. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's gather around the type fire and sing our type fire song. RMBTITYPOLOGY song. And if you feel uncomfortable, then know there's nothing wrong.